Hey guys, welcome to part 6 of this little Arch Linux tutorial series. Last time I covered how to change your default CLI editor and start Archie by modifying bash rc. I showed another method to download and install packages with Yowert, how to find out what video card you're using and download a video driver, installed some sound utilities, tested and installed the X window system, downloaded the tiling window manager Awesome, created requisite directories for it, and changed Awesome's theme. If you haven't made it this far, hit the link below to browse the playlist. This video is going to focus mostly on basic usage and configuration of the Awesome window manager. I'm certainly not an expert on Awesome at all, but I can still show you a few things. So to begin, we're going to cover some basic keyboard shortcuts to navigate the interface. Most of the shortcuts you'll be using will be tied to your Mod 4 key. This is also sometimes referred to as the super key. If you're using a normal keyboard, this is your Windows key between the left Control and Alt keys. If you're on overpriced hipster plastic, this is your Command key. If you look at the top left corner of Awesome, you'll notice a bunch of numbers. These are your workspaces or your desktops. If you're new to Linux, you can think of each of these as a completely separate screen that can house windows independent of the others. For example, I can have a web browser open in one and a terminal in another and switch back and forth between them. Even though there are 9 workspaces here, they don't all have to be used, and their numbers and names can be changed. In fact, there are very few things that cannot be changed in Awesome. So let's switch between workspaces. You can hold down your Mod 4 key and press left or right arrow to change. However, since no windows are currently open, you don't really notice any changes. For starters, let's grab a new terminal emulator. By default, Awesome uses Xterm, which is not a very nice looking terminal. I personally like GNOME Terminal the most, but there are many others available like Terminator or Termite. Regardless, you can open a terminal by holding down your Mod 4 key and pressing Enter. We're going to grab GNOME Terminal and a text editor called Sublime. Once they're both installed, we can open Sublime and edit the RC Lua file to change the default terminal from Xterm to GNOME Terminal or whatever terminal emulator that you chose. And now we're going to hit CTRL to open the location. We're going to type in home, your user's name, put a dot there since this is a hidden folder. We're going to go to config, awesome. Hit enter and you'll see our RC Lua file there. We're going to hit open. I'm going to change the color scheme here by going to preferences, color scheme, and I'm going to change it to cobalt. That's my favorite, but feel free to browse these and come back when you're done. You can also change the text size by holding Control and either plus or minus. We can now mouse over to that ugly Xterm window and use Mod 4, Shift, and C to close it. This is how to close any selected window. To open a new program, we can use Mod 4 and R. Notice that a run prompt appears in the taskbar. I'm going to type in GNOME Terminal and hit enter to start it. GNOME Terminal now opens. You can right-click inside GNOME Terminal and go to Profile, Profile Preferences to change the appearance and behavior of the terminal. All these settings are pretty self-explanatory, so I'll come back when I'm done modifying. So I changed the text font size, color, removed the menu bar, and added some background transparency. If you've been following along since the beginning of the series, you should have plenty of fonts to try by now. And there are many others available for download through the AUR. When in a terminal, it's usually a good idea to use a monospace type font, otherwise things will not line up. Anyway, now that we have two windows open, we can try tiling them. Please look at the top right corner of the screen. You'll notice that there's a small square icon with a cloud to signify that you're in the traditional floating window mode. Since Windows and Awesome do not have title bars, you can move windows by holding down Mod 4 and clicking and dragging. So let's try tiling. Hold down Mod 4 and press the spacebar. Notice that the window icon in the top right changes to a different layout. Mod 4 and space cycles forward. Mod 4 Shift and space cycles backward. I like the first tiling mode the most. Now to select different windows, you can mouse over to them or hold down Mod 4 and press either J or K. Notice the highlighting changes. You can resize Windows by first having it selected and using Mod 4 and H or L. Now that we have RC Lua open, we can change the default terminal from Xterm to GNOME Terminal. Let's go to line 40 and change Xterm to GNOME Terminal or whatever terminal that you decided to download. Once that is done, save RC Lua. And we're going to restart Awesome by either switching to a different workspace and right-clicking and restarting, or we can use the shortcut Control Mod 4 and R. Notice that the tiling has been reset, so you'll need to cycle back to it and resize your windows if you wish. Let's try hitting Mod 4 and Enter to open a new terminal. Your terminal of choice will now open. I'm going to swap windows using Shift, Mod 4, and J or K. Now let's try renaming some of the workspaces. Move down to line 74. You'll see the code for our workspaces is here. You should have 1 through 9 separated by commas. You can remove or add as many as you want here. If you want anything other than numbers, however, be sure to use quotation marks to tell the computer that these are strings. Some people like to name each workspace based on what they'll be using it for. For this example, I'll just name them first, second, and third. When you're done, save and restart. You should see the changes have taken effect. So let's grab a web browser now. I prefer Firefox, but there are many available such as Opera, Chrome, Midori, or you can keep using links if you're into that. Select one of the terminals and let's grab the browser. Switch over to another workspace, and we're going to type in our browser, or whatever command it is that opens the browser that you got. You can now switch between workspaces and see that they're completely different screens independent of one another. You can switch to a specific workspace by using Mod 4 and the number of the workspace. So I'm going to try holding down Mod 4 and hitting the number 3, and that'll move me to the third workspace. Now, you can move windows to another workspace by having that window selected, holding Shift, Mod 4, and then whatever number you want. So I'm going to move it to the third workspace. You'll see now that Firefox has moved to the third workspace. Alright guys, I'm going to end it here for now. I hope this was somewhat helpful. These are the very basics of Awesome. Awesome is very, very robust, but it requires a lot of learning. I hope that this has been easy enough to pick up, and we'll get into some nitty-gritty stuff next time. Thanks for watching. Take care.